In 1979, moviegoers watched a beloved Star Trek character die, then saw her walk back onto the Enterprise, body intact but soul erased. The studio wanted a science fiction epic, but what audiences got was a scene so unnerving that some people walked out. Audiences weren't ready. They called it pure body horror. The Ilia probe disaster did not just terrify viewers, it nearly derailed the entire franchise. This crossed a line. How could one moment push Star Trek so far that Paramount learned the wrong lesson and changed the franchise forever? The answer starts with the most disturbing scene in Trek history. A door slides open. Steam clears. Lieutenant Ilia stands in the sonic shower, skin flawless, eyes alert, but something is wrong. A glowing sensor pulses at her neck just above the collarbone. Her voice is precise, stripped of warmth. She steps forward, not recognizing her own name when it's spoken. Across the room, Commander Decker freezes. The woman he loved is back, but she moves with perfect posture, her gaze fixed and unreadable. She asks what is the function of the carbon unit known as Decker. Not a trace of emotion, only clinical curiosity. The crew tries to reach her, but every gesture of comfort is met with cold detachment. This isn't resurrection. This is a perfect copy, programmed to scan and record, using Ilia's face to interrogate the people who cared about her. In 1979, audiences weren't ready for this. A beloved character's body returned as an empty shell, familiar yet alien. For some, it was too much. Subscribe for more stories of Star Trek's production disasters and the moments that nearly killed the franchise. Before V'ger intervened, Ilia was the living heart of the Enterprise crew. As a Deltan, she belonged to a species defined by empathy and sensuality, so much so that Starfleet required her to take a vow of celibacy to serve alongside humans. That promise was not just a formality. It was a daily act of restraint, especially around Commander Decker, the man she loved before joining the ship. Their connection ran deep, but Ilia kept her feelings in check out of loyalty and duty. Her presence offered warmth and comfort, whether soothing a crewmate in pain or sharing a gentle smile on the bridge. Persis Khambatta's commitment to the role was total. She famously shaved her head for the part, transforming her appearance into something immediately striking. The image of Ilia, bald, dignified, and serene, became iconic, a symbol of vulnerability and strength. For audiences, she represented trust and emotional connection. That is what was lost when V'ger took her. The violation was not just physical, it was personal, leaving the crew and viewers grappling with the absence of Ilia's humanity. Choosing to replace Ilia with a duplicate was not a simple plot twist. The production team debated whether to kill her outright or introduce a copy, weighing the impact on story and audience. Director Robert Wise pushed for a version that would unsettle, not just shock. The probe was crafted to look exactly like Ilia, down to the last detail, but with a battery-powered sensor attached to her neck. A subtle clinical touch that signaled something was deeply wrong. Persis Khambatta was given precise instructions: keep her posture rigid, slow her movements, drain her voice of emotion. The goal was not to create a robot, but to play something that mimicked humanity without understanding it. One film scene that was later cut even showed the probe attacking security guards, hinting at a more overt menace that was ultimately deemed too much. Every creative choice was deliberate, designed to evoke discomfort. Was this a bold experiment in science fiction horror, or did it cross a line for Star Trek? Share your thoughts below. Preview screenings for Star Trek. The motion picture delivered a kind of silence that unsettled even seasoned theater managers. During the Ilia probe sequences, the room would fall quiet, not with awe, but with discomfort. Some managers reported people leaving their seats before the credits rolled, choosing the lobby over the cold, unfeeling presence on screen. The probe scenes did not spark the usual chatter or laughter expected from a Star Trek audience. Instead, the air felt heavy, and the tension lingered long after the film ended. Paramount's mailroom soon filled with letters from confused fans. Some asked why a beloved character was reduced to a vessel for an alien machine. Others questioned whether the film's darker tone had any place in the series built on hope. Parents voiced concerns about bringing children to what they thought would be a family adventure. The studio's own accounting reflected the fallout. Production costs had ballooned to $44 million, nearly triple the original $15 million planned. To break even, the film needed to pull in at least $150 million worldwide. It managed $139 million, a number that looked impressive on paper, but not enough to cover the mountain of expenses and the marketing blitz that had promised a triumphant return. The disappointment was not just financial. Critics echoed the audience's discomfort, calling the film cold and remote. The probe scenes in particular became shorthand for everything that felt off. For a franchise known for optimism, this brush with existential horror left both fans and executives wondering if they had gone too far. The verdict was clear: audiences weren't ready and the cost was more than just dollars. Studio executives didn't wait long to make changes. After Star Trek, the motion picture underperformed, Paramount's leadership asked why a film with a $44 million price tag felt so distant and cold. The answer, at least in their boardrooms, was simple. Audiences didn't want philosophy or existential dread. They wanted action, emotion, and heroes they could root for. The next film, Star Trek II: The Wrath of Khan, was greenlit with a mandate for speed and spectacle. The budget dropped to just $12 million, a fraction of its predecessor. Gone were the sprawling effects of contracts and endless rewrites. Nicholas Meyer, the new director, worked fast and focused on character-driven conflict. The result was a lean, energetic sequel that brought back the original cast's chemistry and pitted them against a classic villain. Wrath of Khan earned $97 million worldwide, making it the most profitable Star Trek film up to that point. Critics praised its heart and urgency. Fans returned for repeat viewings. Paramount's takeaway was blunt. Cerebral Star Trek was a financial risk, but action-packed adventure paid off. This became the studio's guiding principle for the next decade. The lesson they learned, or thought they learned, was that Star Trek should never again cross into the territory of cold horror or abstract philosophy on the big screen. The phrase echoed in meetings. Paramount learned the wrong lesson. Instead of asking how to balance thought-provoking science fiction with humanity, they focused on avoiding anything that reminded audiences of the Ilia probe. In those boardrooms, the refrain was that audiences weren't ready, and some argued this crossed a line. The business decision closed the door on riskier storytelling, shaping the franchise's future for years to come. Debate over the Ilia probe has never faded. Fans and critics still argue whether this crossed a line for Star Trek or pushed the franchise into bold new territory. Some see the probe as a daring exploration of what it means to lose your humanity. Others call it a misstep that betrayed everything Star Trek stood for. The conversation resurfaces whenever the franchise veers into darker territory, like the psychic assault scene in Nemesis or the graphic violence of Discovery. Each time the same question returns: can Star Trek survive when it risks alienating its own audience in the name of shock or realism? Share your thoughts below. Should Star Trek ever go this dark again, or did the Ilia probe prove that optimism is what keeps the franchise alive? Some viewers crave the shock of existential horror, while others want the hope and humanity that made Star Trek famous. Where do you stand? Share your thoughts in the comments. If you want more breakdowns of Star Trek's biggest production disasters and franchise failures, make sure to subscribe and hit the bell so you never miss an episode. Subscribe now for more deep dives and hit the bell to be notified about new episodes. Star Trek's brush with existential horror still haunts the franchise. As studios chase new audiences, the line between bold storytelling and betraying core optimism grows thin. The Ilia probe reminds us that when humanity becomes just data, even the most hopeful universes risk losing what made them matter. Audiences weren't ready. This crossed a line. Paramount learned the wrong lesson, and that choice reshaped Star Trek for decades. The probe remains a warning, a moment when darkness alienated the audience rather than inviting them in. Do you think Star Trek should ever go this dark again? Share your thoughts below. Subscribe for more Star Trek production disasters and franchise failures. Subscribe and hit the bell for more behind-the-scenes chaos. In the end, this is a cautionary reflection on Star Trek's identity crisis between cerebral science fiction and optimistic adventure.